Hello, everyone, and welcome to this space. I hope that you have been doing well and that you are enjoying the summer. If it's that time of year for you, I know for us here we're having a heat wave and brings up a lot of the drama, I want to say. Not that I particularly enjoy drama, but I guess it's part of all of our lives because technically we are all players on a stage, so to speak. We all have roles and take part in the opportunity to be of service and get to know more about life, get to know more about ourselves, our skills, our abilities, in connection with other people, and things of that nature is what I'm going to discuss with you today. I wanted to talk about using certain healing modalities for your relationships. I think when it comes to who you are and your personal preferences, the different ways that you somatize experiences, whether they be emotional or physical or spiritual, we each somatize things differently when it comes to our relationships with other people and when it comes to our relationship to money, our relationship to pets, children. You know, we all have these unique ways of somatizing things and understanding and connecting, right? And this can make it difficult to know what is going to be best for you in your relationships. It can be confusing to know what's your opinion and what is something you should do versus what is something you shouldn't do and is not part of the truth that you're aiming for in your life. Because we're all aiming toward finding more truth in our life, whether that be with the right relationships, the right career. We're all trying to figure out what is really resonant with us specifically. But one of the things that I do believe, if done correctly, is universal, is this need to bring tranquility, zen, into our relationships. And with that is this notion that I want to bring to you, which is the ability to always find joy and healing in your relationships, no matter what has happened within them to you in the past. It's probably an ultimate paradox to say, but essentially the thing that hurts us the most is the thing that heals us the most, and vice versa. Well, I suppose the thing that heals you the most might not, hopefully doesn't hurt you the most, but it's usually when a relationship hurts us a lot in the past. It may not be that relationship that's going to heal us, but a relationship with somebody else is probably likely going to be the thing that heals us. Yes, we can do a lot of our own self-work, and we are the ones doing the healing, but also if we've had some trauma, as we all have, in relationships before, whether it be with a parent, a caregiver, teacher, partner, friend, to get over the trigger itself when it arises, and to still put yourself or Zen first can be really tricky. But essentially, that requires a lot of skill and moving beyond your ego, which can feel contrary because your ego is there to protect you, and it is doing that. So I don't mean that you should move out of your ego straight away. What I'm talking to you about here is when the time is right, you can move out of your ego and you can move into this healing modality, which is this Zen capacity, this ASMR capacity, this relaxation capacity, whatever it is for you, where you don't feel the need to protect yourself anymore. You feel at ease, you feel safe in the environment. I'd really recommend finding ways to make yourself safe in relationships. There's a lot of great language books out there that can help you with this. Essentially, it depends what it is, and it's usually a communication breakdown that hurts most relationships. It's usually a lack of being able to accept difference in the other. And so when we can understand how to, first of all, accept difference in the other, they're not exactly like us, they're unique. A bit like what I've been saying in the beginning of this video, how we all have these unique differences. That is the number one thing that we have to get to know about ourselves and get to know in the other. Once we kind of have a good idea of what that might be within the relationship, we find acceptance for ourselves, for the other with that, rather than judgment. Okay? That would be the first step. Then I would say that the second step is to find the right language to use with this person or these people. There is going to be times where it calls for you to listen, to really listen to the person. And you can do this in a number of ways. You can literally just listen and be present and say nothing, and just make sure you're giving bodily cues that you're listening. You can maybe put in a few words here or there, like, oh, that must be so tough for you. Things like this, that could be what you need to do with this person for one segment of your relationship, is just to listen. Then there might be some more discussion that wants to happen, because communication is a big part of relationships, and having each other's hearing what the other person is really thinking and feeling is going to be important at some stage. It could be the next stage that follows on. And this can be done in a number of ways. If you're in the listening role, though, you can do a little bit of a step up from just listening, and you can use mirroring, which is to kind of say back to the person what you think you just heard them say. And then from there you can clear things up a lot easier. If you misheard something, or if they themselves misunderstood something and need to reword it, rephrase it in their own speaking language. And then there is also another thing that you can do in the listening stage, which is to validate the other person. Validate that they're going through whatever it is they're going through somehow. Again, that can be in the form of, oh, that must be really tough, or something like this. And then it would be to empathize with them and kind of put yourself in their shoes for a moment. And if you were in that situation, how would you feel? That's why listening can be so hard, because it takes us out of our ego, takes us out of our worldly experience and what we see the world as, and it puts us into the shoes of the other. And a lot of us think that we don't have time for the other, but usually it's that we're not really dedicated to giving that time to the other. Either we have our too many traumas we think in ourselves to help someone else, but what we don't realize is that we can help ourselves by helping others sometimes as well. And what you do for the other can be done back for you in a plentifold array of ways. It may not come from that exact person, but it may. The universe is abundant in its ability to give back to you. So it's going in there with that knowing that you can move beyond your ego, because there is space for you to do that. And you can stay calm about doing that, because you know that there will come a time where you need that for yourself, and someone else can give it to you, and you can receive that. Either you receive it first with the listening, or you give it to someone else. You give listening to someone else, and it will always come back to you. It will always come back to them. It's one of the laws of the universe, the give and receive, right? And then there's moving into probably more of a opinions and expressions version of communication that can be really important in relationships. And these are things like when you're having a conversation with somebody, if you have a trigger arise, that means you've got a red flag coming up. And that red flag is telling you that this conversation could easily turn into war if you're not careful. And so the best thing to do to counteract that red flag and keep the conversation going without it turning into a war is to allow yourself to breathe, go into that Zen mode that we talked about. Easier said than done sometimes, but just trust me, okay? Breathe for a moment. When you've found a bit of space for yourself, when maybe even asking the other person to just let them know that, it might take you a minute to respond to what they just said. Give yourself that minute, give yourself that time or that day or whatever it is, however long it takes you, okay? Don't feel rushed in this process, but essentially what you want to do once you've found your cool again, you may still be feeling what you felt with the trigger, but you want to acknowledge how you're feeling and why. So this would come in the form of knowing yourself, knowing how you feel in that moment. So what did that trigger arise in you? What feeling? And there is a list of feelings. If you want to get really specific, there's a list of feelings that you can Google, whether it be through Nonviolent Communications book, whether it be through the wheel of emotions. You can find out and get really specific on what your emotion is, just so that you're actually being clear with yourself and the other person. And then once you've been clear with your emotion and how something made you feel, and you're taking responsibility for your emotion, you're not saying that the reason you feel this way is because of the person or the situation. You're getting a bit more specific than that without being too personal or attacking. It's kind of like, what is it that triggered you specifically? Okay? And then you want to go into that place where you ask for what you need. You request something. What is it you actually want? If it's not to be triggered in this way because this thing is a sore spot for you, this makes you angry, let's say, this makes you sad. If you can be more specific about then what it is that you need, and also being specific before you request something. Why is it, and this is the key, why is it that triggers you? And you've got to be able to find that for yourself. If you can't find that, you won't be able to have a clear communication.